Hello and welcome back to the Combat Carnivore. If it's your first time, welcome to the Combat Carnivore. Make sure to like and subscribe where we are trying to heal vets and men through steak strangles and stoicism. And with us we have Laura, who is the vegan gone carnivore, which I've been getting in a lot of debates with vegan friends. And so I wanted to get her on the show, talk about her experience, and kind of start getting into her health story, her background, and kind of maybe speak to a lot of my vegan friends out there to help maybe make that transition a little bit smoother in terms of our debates and conversations. So Laura, please give yourself the full introduction, and I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm happy to be here. And yes, my name is actually I pronounce it Laura because I'm Lithuanian originally. Uh, and yeah, happy to be here and happy to share my story. My health story has started many years ago, and like everybody who has some sort of issues, I guess they go and they do this and that does not work, and then they go and do that and that does not work, and finally I found something that has definitely transformed my life in the last year and a half almost. So happy to share my story, and hopefully somebody can be encouraged or inspired or just willing to try and to change and do something different in their life.
Awesome. Yeah, and Laura. Sorry, like uh especially coming my mom is from Panama, so I never know if it's Laura or Laura or what I mean, how to pronounce it correctly. I apologize.
Hey,
Um
so
let,
goodbye.
Lithuania though. That's awesome. What what was your background? Like what first of all got you into like a vegan diet, and then how did that slowly start to transform away from the vegan diet and eventually into something as polar opposite as into carnivore?
So yeah, I didn't become carnivore, of course, overnight. So my journey began many years back by becoming vegan, and I didn't eat meat in total for 13 years. It was around probably 2012, 2011. My uncle got sick, he got cancer, and he died eventually. And I started looking why a completely healthy looking person one day just goes away. And of course, also the compassion for animals, spirituality. And every time I was eating an animal, I kind of could see the eyes of that cow or some other animals. And I decided I will do better for myself, for my health, for the environment, for the animals, and so on. So I read like a lot of vegans, the China study that now I understand is completely unhealthy study and completely misleading study. And that's where it began. I didn't do a lot of research like now I'm doing with Carnivore, where I spend a lot of my free time listening podcasts, reading books, listening for interviews, other stories. So I read one book and I decided, okay, from today, I'm going vegan. And
Mm.
I didn't go just vegan. For 8 months, I was raw vegan as well, where I thought I'm doing incredible good for my body, for the environment, for the animals. I'm not killing any animal anymore. And we all know that is absolutely not true, right? Because vegan diet technically kills way more than a carnivore diet. So that's where was my beginning of the journey. And I was vegan for almost 5 years. And then I started eating some cheese, um, some eggs, where I became vegetarian. Then I transitioned to pescatarian. And eventually I started eating meat, a little bit of meat, like almost 2 years ago now. And then a year and a half ago, I became carnivore.
All right, yeah. So I mean, that's a long journey. And what did you notice in terms of physical or mental attributes related to each diet as you transition from each one? Like, was there a mental fog or a mental clarity between transitions? Like, what were you knowing were the changes, or what was becoming aware to you as the changes as you went from diet to diet?
So first of all, I would say I was quite healthy before I started being a vegan. I never had any iron issues or things like this. And suddenly after, now I don't remember exactly how long after I started vegan diet, I started suffering from anemia. So I was very low in energy all the time. My mental health went down. I was very concentrated on my weight, of what I was eating, and most of the food was not nutritious and not even enough food. I was exercising in extreme ways as well. I was binge eating because, of course, like I was trying to eat what I called healthy. And then suddenly I was constantly hungry, first of all. So I was craving food. I was thinking about food 24 hours a day. I was really missing fish, not that much of the meat, because before becoming vegan, I haven't really been eating lots of meat in any way. But once I became vegan, I started definitely noticing, uh, basically, probably not at that time when I was vegan, but more now. I was feeling, comparing to how I feel as a carnivore and how I was feeling as a vegan or vegetarian. I know that I was depressed. I know that I couldn't sleep. I was suffering from insomnia for the last 3 years before starting carnivore diet. I had also eating disorders for many years. So I will go with those periods of like trying to eat healthy and then maybe going completely down the hill with my bulimia or under eating, not eating enough. And I would say that those diets like vegan, vegetarian encouraged me even more going to that dark place. I was suffering also from joint pain. I was having bleeding gums and swollen gums for years. Um, my eyesight as well decreased. So
Really?
I wasn't having much energy at all, but I was kind of going from adrenaline, and I was very anxious and antisocial, I would say as well. So for the majority of those years, I will have troubles to communicate with people or be social or be, having a normal life, because a lot of that time was everything just about the food and just about me being not in a good mood, not in a good space.
Interesting. So even your eyesight got worse. So you went from basically being a clean bill of health all the way to find like this new diet, this new ethical way of eating ended up causing and being almost like the source of all these newfound diseases or illnesses or ailments in your life.
Yes. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not doing it hard enough. Let me try to do harder. And yes, I would have those moments of binge eating and eating ultra processed food. But 80% of my diet was clean diet, because a lot of the people now would say to me, oh, why you just don't try to eat normal food? Why you don't try to eat balanced? I did try to eat balanced many times,
Right.
for many months and for many years. Yes, vegan diet completely wasn't a balanced diet, and now I know that. And you can't just get enough nutrients, and your brain, your body is always malnourished. That's why you are craving for so many things. But the same with vegetarian diet. Yes, my health improved and I got better, but only when I started carnivore, it kind of completely shifted. I can't even explain. Sometimes I feel like a different person that I used to be a year and a half ago. So, for example, even with the same, because the best thing for me why I continue is the mental health. So I really struggled, and for me it was really hard to get up in the morning from bed and do something and go somewhere.
Mm.
Of course, I would go to work because I need still to to
Yeah.
maintain myself somehow. But all my free time I would spend in bed or watching Netflix because I just needed to distract from myself. And even doing something like this, the interview that I'm doing now with you, a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have had the courage to do that because I I think that I'm quite an introvert person in any way, but an introvert who is suffering from depression and even suicidal depression is probably not the best combination.
Yeah, absolutely not. And actually, I'm glad that you said that because one of the greatest things that was like what Carnivore did for me was mental health. And so I'm reaching out to veterans who are dealing with PTSD and other men who kind of suffer silently to say, like, hey, this is not normal. This is not like a life sentence. There is a way of getting out of that dark place. And my wife, she was postpartum, like very bad. She had been diagnosed with a bunch of different things. Was it PMDD? She was diagnosed with manic depressive bipolar disorder of like some rare version of that. She, like everything that you could imagine, and she was suicidal, and it was bad. And now she's like a completely different person. She's the. I don't think people realize the mental divergence that happens when you get on a proper human diet. So you were you ever suicidal or depressed before you going on a vegan diet?
I would say, since I was a teenager, but I would say that I got deeper into that hole, into the
Mm.
darkness, when I went on carnivore or on vegan or vegetarian diets. Yes.
So you know what's very interesting is I had a similar problem. I was dealing with a lot of health issues, and so what do? We go on Google or whatever, and we say like, "I need help," right? And you go to your doctors and you say, "I need help," and what do they all tell you? It's like eat lots of leafy greens, eat vegetables, stay away from red meat, and then you get deeper and deeper into this hole. And so it's like then you're like, okay, like you said, I'm not doing it enough, so I need to go even deeper. And the thing that frustrates me about vegans, I would say one of the biggest things that frustrates me is the second you say it didn't work for me, what do they instantly say? You did it wrong. How
Yeah.
are you doing it? You're doing it wrong. Did you ever get that response that you're doing it wrong?
Yeah, and I was feeling myself, oh, maybe I'm not doing it good enough. Maybe I am not eating this. So let me try that. And things like eating tofu or eating
Mhm.
beans or eating. I think I kind of always had quite a delicate digestion system. So for me, eating lots of vegetables and lots of fruits, because especially those months when I did 8 months of raw vegan, it was to the point where I would sleep 2, 3 hours a night. And thus I thought, oh, this is amazing. I have so much more time because I need to sleep so much less. But now I understand that my body couldn't cope with all that stress. That's why probably my cortisol was through the roof and I couldn't
Mm.
sleep. Uh, and that was not damaging only for my body from the health perspective, but I think also from the social life, because I arrived to the point where I couldn't go for dinner out, I couldn't go anywhere because I didn't drink. I
Right.
didn't eat almost anything apart of fruits and vegetables. And because I have always been a sweet tooth, so I would overeat probably so much more sugar and fructose from the fruits that
Mm.
I will constantly have brain fog, because my insulin and my sugar levels probably will be so high, but I didn't know at that time that, fruits could harm me.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to ask you. This is a good transition into that. Is when I was researching about diet and health, and I researched about what was going on with because I tried vegan, right? I tried vegetarian, I tried all these diets. I am so much more aware of what's happening to me and my body as I've gone carnivore, as I go through the research, as I like do my own self education, like I autodidact kind of a way of going about it. Where in vegan, it was more about like the movement. I was more educated on the movement, and you know what I mean. Like humans are the only animal that drinks milk from another species, like those kinds of facts. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And more facts about what's happening with the environment and this, that, and the other thing. But however, as I've gone carnivore, now I'm a lot more educated on what's happening to me and my biology and what's happening macroscopically and microscopically, where I can make these connections with what's happening mentally, physically, with what I just ate. And it's kind of cool to be like, oh, I can kind of like dial this up and down. Are you kind of experiencing the same thing? Because you keep saying things like, well, I know now, or now I realize.
Yeah, it's completely different because, like you said, I was trying uh, to I guess when I started being vegan, it was also very fashionable to be vegan at that time as well. So yes, I will find things on the magazines, or I will find things on the newspapers, or I will kind of meet people who are vegan as well. And suddenly I was living in Italy at that time. And of course, Italians, they love eating variety of foods. And then suddenly all the restaurants, they started opening vegan restaurants, or vegetarian restaurants, or raw restaurants. I remember close by where I was living, it was a raw vegan restaurant. And
Wow.
I would admit, from the taste, some things they were really, really nice. But from the health perspective, I definitely don't believe now that that was all that healthy, because when you have a meal and you feel lethargic, you feel bloated, you feel cramps in your stomach or acid reflux, and then it goes with everything you eat, something is not right.
Right. So that's another good question or something to point out. When you're eating all that, your fiber is obviously through the roof, right? Raw vegan. And as we kind of in the carnivore community now, it's like if you're ever going to eat plants, make sure they're thoroughly cooked. And if you ever kind of go meat based, then it's kind of cook it a little bit less, And so it's the polar opposite from what we used to. That being said, what would you say your digestive system, like how is your digestive system doing on vegan, and how is your digestive system doing now that you have no fiber?
Oh, it's completely opposite. I used to be, so one of the reasons I decided to agree to my sister's advice, who is a qualified nutritionist, that I will start carnivore and I will do it for 30 days, because I discovered I had SIBO. SIBO is small intestine bacterial overgrowth, and I had horrible digestion system. So
Right.
it
SIBO, SIBO. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what I would eat, I will have cramps, I will be bloated, like I would look like 7 months pregnant all the time. So I couldn't I would put trousers or jeans, and then after dinner or after lunch, I will feel that they would be exploding. I will uh, I will have such a bad acid reflux that sometimes I couldn't even sleep during the night, so I wouldn't fell asleep because how bad it was. And since I stopped eating all the vegetables and of course all the grains and everything that comes that you eliminate with carnivore diet, within the first probably 2-3 weeks, because the first 2 weeks they were not that good for me, so I went cold turkey. And after holidays and I started it with 2 days fasting. So probably I would have done differently now. But once that shift came, once one day I just woke up and I was feeling amazing. I had flat belly. Wasn't having any cramps in my stomach after eating. I wasn't suffering from any acid reflux. I realized that I'm sleeping through the night. I'm not having any itchiness on my body that I had since I was a kid, and nobody knew why. Probably it's grains allergy now,
Mhm.
thinking. Um, my eczema disappeared, my bleeding gums disappeared, my migraines disappeared. Yeah, so like everything completely transformed within the first 1 to 2 months of being on carnivore. And
Wow, 1 to 2 months, like,
yes,
that all that you just listed was 1 to 2
that
months.
was instant. And after 30 days, I said to my sister, okay, I will do 100 days because I'm feeling so great. And after probably 60, 90 days, I knew this is going to be my lifestyle. So I don't know if forever, I don't know if one day, once my body is healed, I will occasionally introduce some greens. I don't know that, but for now, I believe that I will stick with this lifestyle because it has completely transformed like everything for me. And I can't even look back, because and I don't want to come back where I started. And I know that I was addicted to food, and
Mhm.
especially sweet foods. So I know that I don't want to try eating fruits again, because I kind of a little bit afraid that I will go back in binge eating and cravings, because after so long not having any sweet taste in your mouth, I don't have any cravings anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, when I got out of the cravings, that was one of the greatest experiences, to not have the cravings, like, to enjoy a glass of water, to
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, to enjoy, like, fat with salt on it, just like, "Oh my god, this is, like, not just food, this is, like, incredible food. This water tastes good." I think we get so desensitized that it's hard for people to realize how good that stuff tastes, because they're constantly kind of being,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know the word for it, like, overwhelmed by flavor and stimuli.
And I blamed myself all my life that I don't have willpower. But what I
Mm,
understood, that it's probably wasn't even my fault, because the food that we eat is engineered by the specialists to be addictive. So it was
yeah.
engineered for me to want more and more and more.
I wrote this down as I was doing my drive across the country. I wrote this idea down about people who, because this is what carnivores do. We listen to podcasts about health, like, right. So I'm listening to this podcast about health, and everyone talks about binge eating. Everyone talks about how when you're calorie reducing, it's always calories in, calories out. And so as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to be okay. However, us on carnivore can go like thousands of calories over what the daily recommended amount is, and we end up losing weight or getting even healthier by listening to our bodies. And so I started to think, not only is the food like designed by cigarette companies and these teams of scientists to be addictive, and for multiple reasons I can get into that, but
Mm.
and I have gotten into that on this channel. But what I started to realize is that your body will continue to eat until it gets all the nutrients. So
Yeah.
when you're in, so not only is the food that you're probably eating garbage and devoid of nutrients, but then you go into a calorie deficit on top of that. So what little nutrition you were getting goes next to nothing. And so you have to binge eat. You're like, your brain turns off the logical part of you and goes animalistic for survival. And it's like, hey, we're shutting you down because we're going to survive. And then you black out, and all of a sudden you've eaten like thousands of calories of junk food in one sitting, because your body needed to go into that survival mode to survive. So you're the first person I'm telling about this idea that I kind of wrote down. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. And for somebody who struggled with eating disorders for 20 years, and food for me was an obsession. I would think about food 24 hours a day. So I guess only somebody who has been in my place can imagine how hard it is and how disturbing it is, and how you feel that somebody is possessing your body and you can't do anything about it. It's kind of you live your life and suddenly everything goes blank and you realize what you did only after.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't seem even that it's you. It seems that it's somebody else doing everything for you. So for me, when people now are saying, "Oh, you are on such restrictive diet," I don't feel it's restrictive, because I feel like I'm finally free. And I have never been free since my adult life, because I started suffering from eating disorders when I was maybe 12, 13. I don't even know why and when and how it started, because nothing really traumatic happened in my life. I always said, oh, maybe I just liked eating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in my house, there was never really much ultra processed food in any way. So I really don't know where it started. But for the first time in my life, I can feel like I'm free, like I'm in control, like I have the willpower now. Because even, let's say, today at work, we had some cakes and some biscuits and some things.
Mm-hmm.
I look to them, and 1 minute I will think, okay, I would have a biscuit, but then I know why I'm not having that biscuit. I know why that biscuit is not good for me. And by doing more research and by reading and looking deeper why everything is upside down, why, the food pyramid is upside down, it makes me at this point angry, but in a good way. And that anger gives me that willpower to stay true to myself and know why I don't want and I choose not to eat that food anymore. And it's easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You made so many great points right there. A lot of people don't realize it's an inverse relationship. So if you want a ton of freedom in your health, your freedom to feel full, the freedom to be mentally clear, the freedom to have autonomy over your own decisions, like that has to be exactly inverse to what food you're putting in your body. So if you have a more liberal input into your body, you're going to have a less output of capability that your body can do. And if you have a more limited input to your body, depending if it's high quality food or low quality food, but then you're going to have a higher quality of outcome. So for example, like I could eat anything I wanted, but my mental clarity, my mental standings, my physical capabilities, they all dwindled. And so you have to limit one or the other. So I've become free on the side that I want to be free on. I'm okay now not eating everything under the sun, because I want to be able to maintain the freedom of mental clarity. I want to maintain the freedom of physical health. And so somebody said nothing tastes as good as being this healthy.
Yeah.
If no matter how good that looks, I know it's only going to last a little bit and I'm going to sacrifice my health. So nothing tastes better than compromising that health. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you said that. That's a very important thing. I wanted to ask you, as somebody who was a vegan and who has gone to carnivore, what is the number one thing that you could tell to vegans or animal or plant-based dietitians, or how am I saying it? People who are on a plant-based diet? What would you tell them is like the biggest misconception about being vegan and the biggest misconception about carnivore and animal-based lifestyles?
So my biggest misconception was that I thought that I'm not killing animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but now, if we think about all the pesticides, all the herbicides, all the animals that get killed during the harvesting, all the animals that get killed while, preventing, I don't know why the food is stored. All that was completely new to me. And that was one of the reasons why I stopped being a vegan, because one of the reasons was, oh, I don't want to kill animals. But then I understood that actually I'm killing way more, because from one cow I can eat more than a year. And to have, I don't know, a plate of quinoa bowl, or oats or grains, that will kill much more animals. And plus my health, like, I thought I was healthy, but I was not. Like, constant brain fog, constant depression, constant hunger, um, digestion issues. I had never thought that maybe it was that salad that I ate, because it was healthy, it was vegan. And in the beginning of my journey, there was not that much of the ultra processed vegan foods. But nowadays, you can definitely see so many more vegan burgers, vegan this, vegan that. And if you look to the ingredients, there will be like 20, 30 ingredients on that package. And how does that be healthy for you? Some of the ingredients you can't even read. Some of the ingredients, most of the ingredients, you don't even know what they are. So how can that be healthy?
Hey, I wanted to ask you. Oh, hit the wrong button. I wanted to ask you, what was your diet looking like when you were a vegan?
So I would definitely have a lot of rice. I will have a lot of lentils. I will have beans, even if beans I couldn't really eat that much. I will have lots of fruits, probably way too many than I suppose for the sugar cravings. I will do kale. I will do celery juices as well, where I came with the celery juices to the point where my face looked like I had acne that I never had in my life before, because I think I intoxicated my body to that point that everything was coming out from my skin. And I was thinking, oh, this is a detox. Now, I don't think so. This was a detox. And thanks God, I probably avoided, I stopped on time not to have like kidney stones or something like that
Yeah.
from juicing celery every day. Because if you think to have a glass of juice, you need something like that of celery. So
Mhm.
it's a lot. I would have spinach that are extremely high in oxalates, actually. And oxalates, they are like little crystals. And I'm not wondering now why I was feeling all those crumbs after I would eat something like this. But most of my foods would be, yes, salads. And at that time, I used to be a spinning instructor as well. And I used to run a lot. So everything was just concentrated on my body and how I eat and how much I exercise.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. My dad, he was on like a high fiber, lots of spinach, like it was his thing, and he ended up having his gallbladder removed, and he
Wow.
had like kidney stones and gallstones that were like killing him. And he was like, I don't understand. I'm healthy. And like now, when we look in retrospect, I'm like, oh, you were like legit causing your own problem. The doctors and the system makes it feel like they gaslight us. They make us think it's our fault. Like
Yeah.
it was that one wrong thing that you ate, and now you're get gallstones, or it's genetic. What was your genetic, your DNA history, your hereditary patterns and stuff like that, rather than just saying maybe this is a huge environmental factor. So I completely agree with you there. I wanted to get into a few more questions here, but what does your carnivore diet look like now? And then we'll get into some more of those questions.
It's very easy. It's very simple. It's never a problem, to make something when you come back from work late. I am quite a creative person with food. I used to do a lot of cakes, healthier type of cakes, colorful bowls, smoothie things. So I would say my creative side still stayed. And even with Carnivore, I make amazing birthday cakes that my friends who don't eat carnivore ask for second piece as well, where I can eat it as well. Maybe I give them a little bit of honey, to make it a bit sweeter, because I'm not using any natural or unnatural sweetener. So I haven't had in a year and a half, I haven't had anything that tastes sweet at all. And for on daily basis, I eat steak, grass-fed beef mince, eggs, occasionally seafood. The strange thing happened with fish. I don't really crave fish anymore, unless I'm maybe somewhere on the seaside, on holidays in a different country where I will have some grilled fish, maybe. But for some reason, I'm not craving it anymore. But yeah, everything that is mostly red meats. Sometimes I buy, big piece of meat and I just cook it in the instant pot for several hours, so it becomes like very soft and very like it shreds out of the
Hmm.
bones. And
Do you do like a chuck roast for that, like chuck roast or?
with the roast, like the big pieces of meat, I'm not that good yet to make them be good. So normally what I do, I cook them in the instant pot and
Hmm.
I make it kind of like more like a soup.
Hmm.
Or I love bone marrow. So when I can find
Yeah.
it, I always cook bone marrow in my air fryer. Uh,
Oh, can I ask you about that? Because I love bone marrow. I love it. I love it. I love it. So you said you cook bone marrow. So what bones do you get? Do you get like the canoe style bones, or do you get just like the little circles?
So normally the ones I can find, they are the longer ones, but they are kind of cut it in half, but they are
Uh-huh.
not cut it that way, right? So I put them in the air fryer in like a silicone molds, because otherwise they of course leak fat. I cook them, I eat the bone marrow, then I freeze the bones and I make bone broth for when maybe I do fasting or something like that, for the other day. And
Oh,
they
okay.
make amazing bone broth actually.
Yeah, bone broth. I definitely. So that leads me to a question real quick I didn't even think of. Do you have a fasting feasting schedule? Do you have a like a specific schedule that you stick to, or do you kind of listen to your body?
Well, when I am on my days off, I try to listen to my body and eat when I feel like I'm hungry. When I'm at work, I would eat when, let's say, it's my lunchtime, or when I come back from work, so it's my dinner time. So normally I do have 2 meals a day. And time to time, I do 1 meal a day. Sometimes I do have 3 meals a day. It's I try to listen my body. If today I wake up and I feel like I want eggs for breakfast, I do eat eggs for breakfast. Where before I was always doing intermittent fasting, doesn't matter what, hungry, not hungry, I will not eat breakfast. But now I try to listen to my body a little bit more and try to see what I'm craving, how much I want, and uh, yeah, so trying to be more intuitive than okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you ever do extended fasting?
I do. I actually just finished last week a 3-day fasting. So I
Nice.
do for now water fast for around 90 hours last year. Then I tried sardine fast for 4 days. And then I did bone broth fast. So basically, this last fast was for 3 days. Actually, I did I did eat something, and then I did a fourth day. So I don't know if it counts or not. I did eat after 73 hours 2 eggs because I was kind of feeling a little bit dizzy. So I said, okay, let me have 2 eggs. And then I slept the night, and I woke up in the morning and I was feeling great. And I said, oh, let me continue through the day, and then I will eat that evening. And I feel like bone broth was easier because by getting that glass of broth for lunch and then for dinner, I was less hungry. I had more energy. I was not thinking about, when you haven't had food for like 24, 36, 48 hours, especially 48 hours is kind of becoming that time where you are feeling a little bit more hungry, and then the third day it's kind of easier again. So I found it easier, and I guess that little broth helped me to decrease my cortisol levels as well, because when we are fasting, from one side we are doing extremely good for our body, but from another side it's also very stressful on our body. And of course for women it's also different, because for man you can do fasting whenever you want, and how much you want, and how long you want. For women it's a little bit different because we need to follow our hormones and our cycles, because if you fast in the wrong time, you can also disbalance your hormones and do more bad than good.
Yeah, I had to do a lot of rough readjusting when I started to truly realize how different men and women are in terms of what cyclical patterns they're in. Because men are much more in like, even though we have other like weekly and like monthly and yearly seasonal cycles, women are much more in tune to that. Like men are like 24-hour creatures for the most part, and women are much more fluctuating depending on what cycle they're in. So I used to tell my wife all the time, I'm like, no, ice bathing is so good for you. It does all this, that, and the other thing. But then it turns out it can actually really damage. It can send signals that you're in a fight or flight mode to other cycles and kind of mess that up. And so I had to step back a lot to be like, okay, there's a lot of nuance to this kind of research that isn't always being accounted for. So for me, I was doing consistent 3-month fasts at the end of every month. But as I went 100% carnivore and lion, what I started to realize is I'll just get sick of eating, and then I'll just see whenever I'm hungry again. And like last time I did it, it was 4 days. And then it was like, oh, now I'm hungry. And then I broke my fast and it was fine. And it was weird to go 4 days without eating and not even think about food. Like
Mm.
it wasn't even part of my life. And then other days, it's like a couple days, like I go 3 days of eating, and all of a sudden I won't eat for 2 days. I've just been really listening to my body. But you're exactly right, because women, they're so much more dependent on other things happening in their life and inside their body that they can't just like, oh, I'm going to fast starting this date and stick to like a weird schedule. Like on the 15th of every month, I do this on the, because things fluctuate so much. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. That was a hard lesson for me to be like, I am maybe pushing something that I don't completely understand, and I need to back up a little bit. And it's also another reason why I kind of stick to men, where it's like I understand mental health a lot more than I understand like a woman's physical, like the issues that they go with. And women, in my opinion, or not opinion, but in my experience, women have a lot more sensitivities to their environment, and a much wider variety of symptoms that manifests into. And like you said, you had like acne and eczema, which like you had never had before. And I never, like you said, a detox. I used to think about detoxing and things like that, but I've recently learned that what is happening on the outside of your skin is oftentimes a very good insight to what's happening on the inside of your gut. And so if you're breaking out in your skin, the inside, your gut lining is probably breaking out as well. And so anyway, I was a long rant just to say, like, I'm very glad that you brought that up, that women have a much different journey than men when it comes to diet, when it comes to fasting, when it comes to working out and things like that.
Yeah. And also mentally, I think that for me, it's easier if I plan it in advance and I know, okay, this day I'm starting my fast. So I'm kind of mentally ready and mentally prepared. Not only my body is ready, but also my mind is set on that goal. And, I think there is, and a lot of people would say, oh, you had eating disorder, so now you're fasting because you want to lose weight, or you this or you that. And it's not, because it's different. I know that I'm doing this for optimal health. I'm not doing that to lose weight. I'm not doing that because I don't want to eat. I'm doing that to detox my body and to
Mhm.
clear it up from those dead cells, and that will give me a massive benefit. And I'm doing it consciously and plan it appropriately.
Yeah, okay. I see that. Yeah, that sounds a lot more like my wife, where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not eating. And she's like, how? She's like, you haven't planned it out? I'm like, no, I just didn't. That last meal seemed like it was too much, so I just won't eat until I'm hungry again. She like can't fathom that. That's what I do. That's yeah, but yeah, what you're saying is a lot more like what she does, where she's like, I think this weekend I'm going to not eat. And, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot more planned out. That's cool to see the contrast. So you mentioned something very important that I wanted to get to a little bit back, and I kind of forgot about it. Eating disorders. So a lot of people say that carnivore is an eating disorder, and they say it's gone full circle. So a lot of people know about this, but I had my mom and my sister wanted to do an intervention for me because I was being too extreme with carnivore, and I don't let my kids like my kid when we were at the last birthday, and this there's a lot of nuance to what I'm about to say right here, a lot of minutia. But like I didn't let my youngest son, because he's going through some health stuff, or he was. I didn't want him to eat the birthday cake, so I said no, we're not going to eat the birthday cake, and everyone was like, "Who is this guy not letting this kid eat this birthday cake?" And it's come full circle to me that the people who are addicted to drugs it's the main society. And so now the people who are addicted to drugs are telling the people who aren't on drugs that they have a eating disorder and they have a problem. You know what I mean? It's like this is how backwards everything is. Do you kind of feel that way when you uh have you heard the criticisms of having an eating disorder, being on carnivore? And do you feel like it's kind of upside down, like you said, the pyramid, that now that you understand what's going on, it's crazy to hear people who have an actual eating disorder and are the people who are addicted to food telling you you have an eating disorder and that you have an issue
Oh yeah, it happens every day. If you go
every day.
to my Instagram comments, you will see how many I get. Oh, girl, just go and get help. You have an eating disorders. You have this, and that. And the most ridiculous thing, because now we are laughing, right? But the most ridiculous thing is somebody has a McDonald's meal and that is totally fine, right? All those fries cooked in seed oils, burger meat, who knows where it comes from, the bun, and that is completely fine. But then you go and really start taking care of your body, of your mental well-being, and you start something like carnivore lifestyle. Suddenly you have this, you have that, you have eating disorders. That is ridiculous, right? Because yes, is limiting things that we eat, but like I already mentioned, is so liberating. And I believe everybody who suffers from any sort of eating disorders and when carnivore, they can confirm like how liberating it became. Because I don't undereat anymore, I don't overeat anymore, I don't binge eat anymore. That after I need to go to the toilet and throw up because I feel so guilty. I don't feel guilty eating anymore. I don't think about food 24 hours a day. I'm not obsessed about food. What else? Like, my life has completely transformed, because while when I lived in my past life with eating disorders, and even for a while I was kind of in remission, I was good for years, but the thought was always there. The thought I would always need to control myself when I go to the supermarket, because maybe I will say, okay, today I will do an exception. I will eat this, 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 and
Mm,
this. And then I know how it will go, gonna finish, because
mm,
when you eat all those things, you feel extremely guilty. And when you eat them, you don't even feel like yourself. You feel that 5 minutes of gratitude, and then you realize, oh, you did this, and somebody like possessed you, and now you're extremely guilty and you need to do something about it. I don't feel any of that anymore. I feel like I thought that all my life I will need to live with those thoughts about food, about, not having a healthy relationship with food. But now I don't. Like, I believe I do have a healthy relationship with food. For the
yeah.
first time in my life, if I eat and I feel it's enough, I'm satiated, I can leave a piece of food on my plate. Where before it wouldn't exist something like this. So I feel like I am free, like I'm healed. Where before I was looking to that light at the end of the tunnel, now I pass to that side where I'm out in the light and the tunnel is behind me. And uh, you can't imagine how liberating it is.
Congratulations. That's when you were describing that, I felt the suffocation. I felt the the walls closing in, and I that's not being free. You know what I mean? Like that lifestyle, that feeling guilty, that binge eating, that not trusting yourself at the grocery store, that feels like prison. But
Yes.
now I can you and I can eat, like you said, to satiety. We can eat until we're full and have zero guilt about it.
Yeah.
Every single time we eat, we don't have to worry about, what we're eating. Everything we're eating is high quality. We eat until we're full. We're done eating. We're not hungry all day. We're not thinking about food all day. That's freedom. That to me, that is extreme freedom. So I'm glad that you have found that, and I'm glad that you have healed with that. I'm glad that you're out of the tunnel. I know what it's like to be in that dark place. I was doing so bad, so poorly, for so long that I would beg and I would pray to anything that would answer for 1 hour of mental clarity. Said, please just give me 1 hour with no brain fog, no panic, no anxiety, no, I mean, just like, what is it like to be normal? And I had a bunch of physical ailments going on, but all I cared about was how mentally trapped I was. And I know that feeling that you're talking about is like the tunnels behind you. Like, oh my God, that I can't believe I was in there for so long.
But it's not just the tunnel, because if I think before and now, I used to self-doubt. I used to find always the wrong relationships and wrong people around me. I was very shy. I was, it was hard to do everything for me in life. When now I believe, like, I don't even care about my weight anymore. I care about the optimal health
Yes.
and how I feel, how energetic I am, how confident I am. What can I do today instead of, binge Netflix all day long trying to distract myself from my own being? I don't do those anymore, things anymore. I rather read a book. I rather learn something. And what has also changed, that now I go to sleep looking forward for my tomorrow and for my morning routine and for my day, where before it was going to sleep and getting up in the morning and thinking, okay, how can I finish this pain today?
Wow. So this is a very, very important quote that is kind of a reoccurring motif in philosophy and as well as some religions. It's like, plenty of philosophers have said a quote along these lines, but it's like, when I was young and strong, I wanted to conquer the world. But now that I'm older and wise, I just want to conquer myself. And the whole idea is like, when you conquer yourself, you conquer the world. And a lot of people don't realize what that means. And what you're describing is somebody who has conquered themselves. They've conquered the dependencies that they have. They've conquered their fears. You know what I mean? They don't need these other things in life to tell them what to do or what to think. The goalpost has moved. Everybody's aiming at the same goalpost, and you're like, I'm not even working at this goalpost. Like, I have my own thing to do. And they call it like the carnivore calm, where it's like everyone thinks that they don't care what other people think, but then once you get here, you're like, oh, I used to care way too much what other people think. And this confidence and the security and this independence that you get when you go carnivore, the mental clarity, like, I truly don't care what other people think. It's bad. It gets to the point where you like, things happen in social occasions. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Like,
And you know, life continues, and life is life. Everything, like, you know, many different things happens. It's not that it's everything just flowers and sunny. uh, Things still happen, but it's how you have the strength to react and to reply, to respond to everything that happens to you, and how quickly you can transform that and change it and shift your energy and shift your beliefs, and, you know, have that mental clarity, have that passion, and have, you know, that strength, mental strength, to help yourself to go through the day. Because before, then I was anxious, then I was stressed all the time, then I was, you know, not confident at all. That was very hard. Now whatever happens, I know that I can deal with that thing. And with carnivore, not just my diet shifted, and so many more things. Like, suddenly I realized I don't want to use any chemical products anymore, like skincare products. I
mhm.
started to looking into the circadian rhythm and going to sleep and waking up always at the same time, and protect myself from blue light. I introduced,
Are those glasses
yeah,
protecting
the
you from?
blue
Okay,
light
I was
ones,
wondering.
we have different colors, and I thought, okay, let me wear the lighter one so you can see my eyes instead of looking to the glasses. So I started using red light panels.
Mhm.
Yeah, so so much more has shifted and transformed, and the consciousness and awareness about what is happening around us, and has completely changed. And I understand, you know, what before I didn't think would harm me, now I know I'm choosing the healthier way, I'm choosing the better way. So whatever is in my control, because so many things are out of our control, right? We can't do anything about the rainy day today, or we can't do anything about something else that happens. But whatever is in my control, whatever I'm putting on my body, the clothes I'm wearing, the food I'm eating, the cosmetics I'm using, because especially women, you know, we are full on of makeup and this and that, and you know, it has completely changed me, because a year and a half ago you will see me with heavy makeup, with filters in my pictures all the time. I don't need that anymore, because, like, once something has happened in me, something has shifted, and finally, for the first time in my adult life, I can see the beauty inside of me and outside of me, and I can recognize it. And, you know, if somebody doesn't like it, scroll somewhere else. Don't look, don't listen, don't, you know.
No, that's beautiful. And like, my wife, she doesn't wear makeup anymore. And like, it's so beautiful to like look at her, and her skin is so clear, her smile is so genuine. I love it. And I don't put any chemicals on my body anymore either. I have like a beef tallow, and it's kind of like where I get it from, they use a little bit of olive oil, but like that's the soap that I use for like everything.
Me too.
I used to like, I don't know if you can tell, let's see, but like I have a lot of tattoos and I have all these plans to fill up the rest of my body with tattoos. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get another tattoo after like learning, and the circadian rhythm, and like I get out in the sun for like all these things tend to happen once we all start making these deliberate and conscious choices towards carnivore and healthy lifestyle, that I never prioritized my health and myself before I finally went carnivore. And so I'm glad that you said that. I have two more questions. One is, how lucky do you feel to have a nutritionalist who is, advertising and promoting carnivore? Because every single nutritionalist usually is indoctrinated by the Seventh-day Adventist based anti-meat, agenda. And then the other thing I wanted to get into was your social media and how you handle that. So those are my last two questions. Do you have time for those two?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So I am really very, very lucky because my sister, she's a nutritionist, and my brother-in-law, he's a dietitian. So, and they both promote carnivore diets for their clients, and they have extreme results.
That's rare though, right? That's so rare to hear that sentence.
And everything has started because when my niece was born, and now she's 3 years old, she is about to be 4 in December, and she was allergic to so many things. And that kid has amazing parents because they looked deeper, they dig deeper, they didn't accept the steroid creams and and things like this that normally doctors would advise for allergic kids. So they, being nutritionists and dietitian, of course, they started looking, why is this? Where is it coming from? And so they lifestyle and they diet would be more like ketovore. So they do eat a little bit of vegetables and they do eat a little bit of fruits, but mostly it's very, very heavily animal based, and they go through times where they will be eating more carnivore or sometimes a little bit less. But in my house there is no grains, so I know every time I will go to visit my family or they will come, I will always have something to eat. There will be not an issue. When I was vegetarian or vegan, they will always need to cook separately for me something, because it will always be something that I wouldn't eat. But now there will always be something. And it's so good to have that support. And you will go to see your family and there will be no croissants, no normal cakes, no things like this, where normally I would make the cakes, and I will make carnivore cakes if there is a birthday celebration or Christmas or something like that, so we can all enjoy. And even my mom, she is really trying to take care of what she eats. She has a little bit of rheumatoid arthritis, so she knows that if she eats grains, she will feel more inflamed and more pain. So she is trying to stick as well with the healthier type of diet. And having my sister as a qualified nutritionist, of course, it's a blessing. And it took her 2 years to convince me to start eating meat again, because honestly, I didn't imagine I will ever eat meat again. I started eating fish quite a while ago, but of course, meat, it was the last that I introduced. And after 13 years, you can imagine, like, it wasn't like overnight I became carnivore. Like, I was eating meat, and initially when I needed to cook it for myself, I was holding it with a fork because I couldn't even touch it with my hands. But then when I decided to go carnivore, of course, for those 30 days, I kind of slowly got into that routine, and I'm not disgusted to touch meat now anymore, and I don't mind the smell of meat anymore that I did in the beginning when I started. And yes, having support of your family, it's very important, and it's much easier to have this journey if somebody is helping you in a way, because we are all social people. We meet up for birthdays, for celebrations, and even, like, for example, for me, because I know that I have this addiction to food, and especially sweet foods, so I know that I can't try the cake, because if I try, what is the possibility I go back to my old routine? There is a possibility, right? So I know that in my house, in my family, I wouldn't have that issue, because nobody eats the normal cakes or
That's
bread
nice.
or things like that. So it's amazing, and it's much easier having somebody who can support you. And a lot of times when we meet with my family, we talk about health, we talk about what I discovered in the meantime, what they discovered in the meantime, and
Yeah.
we share about our blood works, and we share about the podcasts we listen, the books we read. We constantly share the books as well. And my brother-in-law, he has his own podcast as well, so he is interviewing he has interviewed a couple of people, like Bickman or Anthony Chaffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love having them. Like Anthony Chaffee was on my podcast, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Sean O'Mara, you know what I mean? Professor Bart K, Steak and Butter Gal. You know what I mean? I love these people, and they're the reason I made it here, because my family was not supportive. My family was like, "You're trying what? This is crazy." They wanted to give me an intervention, like if when I was eating poorly, they didn't want to intervene with my life. But now that I'm getting healthier, it's like they want to intervene. And so I put this up because this is an ongoing joke. My tagline when I leave the channel is "Don't do drugs and don't eat vegetables." So when you said they still eat vegetables, I just had to put that up there for a second. But I would love to get connected with that. You said your brother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
I would love to talk to him on his channel if you would be willing to help me set that up, because my goal is to get as many people of authority in a place to say that people who are suffering from PTSD and mental health aren't stuck there. It is my strongest opinion, because I cured myself through PTSD through Carnivore. And one of the things that we're just constantly being told is like the only way out of here is either getting on a pretty unsuccessful SSRI, or which is going to make you physically dependent forever, unless you can tailor off of it successfully, or you're just like this for the rest of your life. And it's due to genetics and environment and outside things. And I just don't think that's the case. So I would love to have a podcast with him and talk to him. So if you would be willing to set that up. The other thing I wanted to say is that having a community around you. So like I had to go through this by myself. And so I didn't know what the carnivore community was like at all. I just was listening to people on YouTube. However, you find these communities out there, and so I'm part of the Steak and Butter gang now, and having a community to talk about these things when your family looks at you like you're crazy and you're not eating the birthday cake and you're not really doing social events anymore, and all you want to talk about is carnivore, and you just see everybody nodding their head about how bad food is, and then they put the food in their mouth, and you're like, okay, I'm clearly a social misfit.
They're saying you will die from heart attack as well next year.
Yes. So to have a community. So if you guys check out the link in the description down here, which is my link tree, you can get access to the Steak and Butter gang. I won't do too much time advertising it right now, but find a community if you're thinking about doing this, if you're having a difficult time, because as Radha said, it's extreme. First of all, stepping away from social norms and social normality I don't know how you say that, normalcy, is it's extremely difficult to make that step for your health and to step away from the social norms. And not only that, those first 2 weeks to 6 weeks to a few months can be hard. It feels hard. You like, if you ever want to know what it's like to withdraw from cocaine, take out all the carbs in your diet. And I promise you will understand that feeling where it's like you're shaking. I was fantasizing about waffles and syrup. I hadn't even had waffles and syrup for like 2 years before that. Yet that's all I could think about.
I
Weird.
was getting stomach sick actually the first week when I
Yeah.
did it as well.
It was like a flu. So anyway, being part of a community, I guess this is all to say, like, you have your family and a registered dietitian in the family and nutritionalist. That's incredible. A lot of people don't. In fact, the closest people in our family are telling us we're crazy and trying to give us an intervention. So finding a community of these people can be really important. And these days, online seems to be the place to find it. So if you're somebody who's thinking about it or you're feeling alone, please come join the Steak and Butter Gang with us. It would mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to us. And I know it'll help you out a lot to be able to bounce ideas and talk to people. Shoot me a direct message in the Steak and Butter Gang and we can hang out and get to know each other. So now, all that was incredible. Thank you so much, by the way, for saying all that. This is very, very awesome. I want to talk a little bit about social media to wrap up the podcast. So you say you get a little bit. I have been getting my first trolls, and so someone told me that means you've made it as a carnivore. So when you start getting the vegans trolling you, and so yeah, we get a lot of attacks online. So I wanted to ask you a couple things. One, what would you say is like your message to them? In a sense, just straight to them. And then what would you say is your message to us, the people who are entering what kind of like we're going public about becoming carnivore and that lifestyle to help others? What advice would you give to us to deal with the trolls?
So first of all, my Instagram was born a year ago.
Wow.
One day I came back home and I decided I will just start, sharing my story. That will motivate me, myself first, and will keep me accountable. So that was the reason why I started. I have never imagined that us today, I will have 68,000 followers and that my Instagram account reached 8, 9 million people in the last 30 days. I never imagined that. And then I started seeing that people were coming and asking advices and asking questions. And I was even more motivated to continue because I knew if this helped me so much, maybe it can help somebody else. Maybe
Right.
my message can reach somebody else. And more I was doing it, more courage I was getting out to put my message. I wouldn't say that now I am like 100% open completely about everything. I'm probably not. I'm still holding a little bit back. But I know that this is growing, that I'm getting more and more confident with myself and less caring of what other people think about what I'm doing, because I'm not doing it because of anyone else. I'm doing it because of myself and how I feel and how I want to help myself. And honestly, in the beginning, I was taking it very seriously and very deeply, the comments, but now, like, sometimes I reply, sometimes I don't reply, sometimes I need to block some people as well. And you will see a lot of comments like, you will die from heart attack next year, you will die from heart attack after 6 months you're doing that diet. And suddenly I say, oh, it's, by the way, it's a year and a half almost that I'm doing this diet. Okay, so just wait for 2 years, and then you will be dead. And I say, well, for now, my blood works, they are better than ever, even if I'm still iron deficient after a year and a half of eating mostly red meat. It still did not come back to the proper levels. But everything else, so my inflammation is gone, where I would have always inflammation evident in my blood test. My vitamin D was very, very low, and now is high. My cholesterol, yes, it's higher, but it's still in the normal range. Um, and I'm feeling great. So I don't stay that much time in that negativity or in those people who do not want to understand, I would say. Whoever needs to get my message will get it. And,
Mm.
more negative comments I get, more visibility I get, and more people who need to hear my message will get it. So I'm not taking it personally. I'm not taking it seriously. Uh, yeah. I
Well,
just relax with time. And yeah, like I said, some people, they need to be blocked, unfortunately, because of the language they use, and sometimes it's completely inappropriate and rude and offensive. I try to be I try not to offend anyone. I try to explain even to the vegans that constantly attack me why I changed and
mhm.
why I'm doing what I'm doing today. But unfortunately, then you are brainwashed, and when you don't have enough nutrients and you don't see it clearly, you can't understand. And I know, because I have been in that place, and I did everything to defend my thoughts at that time.
Yeah, I actually made a video. It was after I got like a bunch of my first trolls. I I made this video. I'm probably going to put it up here in a couple weeks. But I said, "Why are vegans so mean?" I asked ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT gave me like a legit answer. And then I put, "Are they so upset because they're not getting enough nutrients?" And ChatGPT said, "Maybe it might be because you're not getting enough nutrients." I just thought it was funny that ChatGPT agreed with me. But thank you. Like what you're saying is yes. I used to have a big jujitsu channel. It was kind of more just being like flamboyant and fun and motivating my jujitsu journey. And I kind of, it was kind of hard to keep up with it because it was fun to do, but it was like, God, this isn't like, this is just for fun. You know what I mean? There's more important things. But when I healed myself through carnivore, um, I got this extreme urge to help other people because I know it's not just me who's trapped. There's 22 veterans a day committing suicide in the United States. There's 135 Americans committing suicide a day, and it's 1.6 million attempts a year. 1.6 million suicide attempts a year. So the the mental space in the United States was not just me. It's not just a few people. This is like a pandemic, uh, an epidemic, rather. Sorry, this is like an epidemic of mental strife within the modern world, and we spend more on healthcare than anybody else. So I got this urge to be like, I feel like everyone's walking by an open treasure chest, and for some reason I'm the only one who can see it. And I'm like, here, take some of the gold. And even when you do that, you get people online who are yelling at you like that gold is going to hurt you in the long run. So, yeah, you know what I mean? It just feels so. Anyway, yeah, getting on social media, getting out of my comfort zone, even if it's just to tell my story. Like there's a guy out there who is no longer on SSRIs, who is no longer dealing with 95% of his PTSD, who's no longer dealing with panic disorder. Like I was having panic attacks frequently. Someone who's gotten out of the mental fog. There's one guy out there who did it. There's one girl out there who did it. And the more I get into the social media, the more I find you guys. But I think more and more people need to be saying this. I think more and more people need to be fighting the plant-based movement and the pharmaceutical companies and the food companies in order to say, no, there's like another way out of here. Because right now, this is, like I said earlier, all right, you want to be intentional about your health. Awesome. Let's type in what is a healthy diet. And this is what I do on my channel. I make these videos. What is a healthy diet? Google, let's see what it says. And it's all BS. So it's like we need to catch up. We need, like, our voices are the ones, in my opinion, that are catching up to counterbalance this weird census of what's a healthy diet. So yeah, anyway, so I just wanted to give you a personal thank you, and that you probably don't realize how many lives you're saving by giving people the confidence to try to realize this is normal, to realize that you're thriving, and you're taking a lot of people out of a bad spot. Even if they don't all message you, I know, because I was one of them, that people like you are making the world a better place. So thank you so much for doing what you do.
And I always say, you will not know until you try. So try for at least those 30 days, 60 days. Then if you are not feeling great, just come back to what you're doing. But it will not harm you to do 30 days or 60 days. Definitely it's not going to happen anything. And just in case in those 30 or 60 days, you discovered that there is a completely different world, a completely different you gain your life back, right? And I did therapy, I did hypnosis, I did so many different things through my life trying to help me and to live. And with my depression and my eating disorders, nothing has helped. And I'm not saying it's not useful to do therapy, but if you integrate something, like your diet that is healthy and that is full of nutrients and that helps to transform, and then you integrate with therapy, that can work miracles together.
Absolutely. Wow. I'm I'm so honored that you were willing to come on the show. Like I said, I'm building yeah, I am building the show from the ground up. Like I said, I used to have a YouTube channel, but I completely scratched everything. So I'm building this from the ground up. I'm meeting all these beautiful people in the carnivore community. And what's crazy is the more I talk to you guys, the more I realize it's more than just eating meat. It's like you talked about circadian rhythm. It's about not putting toxins on your skin. It's about not having fluoride in the drinking water. It's about all these things.
360 degrees, yes.
Yeah. And you become so I'm making a video right now because I want it to be good, but I'm like way too far into this video. But I said, going carnivore sucks. That's the title of the video. I'm talking about the fact that
something like that on my YouTube. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a line, does carnivore sucks? So I need
it
to.
does. It does suck. It sucks when you transition and you feel like crap and your body's getting used to the new fuel source. It sucks when you like kind of lose friends. It sucks when like you have trolls on your Instagram. It sucks that you can't see the world the way you used to. It's like you were woken up from the Matrix. It sucks that you can't go and enjoy some ice cream every once in a while and just have it in moderation. It sucks. Like there's a lot of things that suck about it, but it's honestly the best thing that I've ever done.
Yeah, and you can't unsee what you have seen.
Exactly.
Once that happens, you can't go, back and live exactly the same. Like, I don't think so it's possible, because you have that awakening, you have that knowledge, you have even people. Before I thought if I will start eating meat, I will be not spiritual anymore. But I think it's other way around. Now I understand and I connect with the universe, with the spirit, with God, whatever you want to call it, much, much more than I did before in the past.
I could not agree more. I don't talk about this a lot, but I say semi often, like my spirituality is completely changed. Like I feel connected on a whole nother level. And I think about hunter gatherers, how connected they must have been to hunt, to know their prey, to know what their prey loved, to know the weather and how that related to their prey, to understand the weather and then the food that their prey ate, to know like they were so connected with every little part
and be
of
grounded
nature
all the time as well. Live with the sun, wake up with the sun, go to sleep with the sun, so much more natural rhythms, where now we live completely opposite. We live in those big blocks and we don't see sun. We constantly stay blue light. but it's not in our DNA. We haven't changed since, 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago. We are basically the same, but we live in completely unnatural habitats, in completely unnatural lifestyle. So I'm not wondering why we are all sick. It's
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
We completely transformed what used to be natural for us.
Okay. God, I'm last question actually, because I was supposed to ask this earlier. What's your opinion on organs? What's your opinion on butter or dairy?
So when I started my journey, I was eating a lot of butter because that helped with cravings. So every time I will crave for something, I will open my fridge and I will have a bite of butter. So I ate really a lot of butter. Now I don't feel that I need that much like I used to before. So before I eat it with ground beef, I ate it with steak as well. I was putting everywhere. Now I would cook my eggs in butter or I will cook my steak in butter, but I wouldn't add extra because I just don't feel I need it anymore. I love it. I could eat it instead of the bar
Mhm.
of chocolate still. Occasionally, very rarely, I still do it, and it tastes great. But I feel like with months and days going by, I need less of it. With organs, I eat very occasionally. I make liver pate because I don't like liver taste. But I found this recipe where I cook the liver, I melt some butter, I put it in the blender and I blend, and it comes perfect liver pate. That I do make. I try to make it like probably once a month or once every 2 months, like a jar of it.
Mhm.
Occasionally, I would take some liver capsules, but normally, like, I'm not really thinking that supplements are necessary for us. The only thing I take it would be magnesium because we all lack magnesium. There is no diet that will give us enough magnesium, and I actually start feeling very quickly if I stop taking it because I start having cramps, muscle cramps. With carnivore, way less, so I can do bigger breaks between like taking it and not taking it. Then I was vegan vegetarian. I will get up every night with leg cramp in the
Mm.
middle of the night. It was very bad, but now it's much better. And especially if I'm taking magnesium, I don't remember last time I had it.
And that being said, what about salt? What kind of salt do you use, if any?
Yes, I do eat salt. I use, I guess, more salt now because we need more electrolytes. Not eating carbs, we need more salt actually. Um, so I do eat Celtic salt. I do eat Redmond salt. I do eat Himalayan salt, even if less, because it's probably
Heavy metals.
not that good. Yeah, it has some sorts of things mixed with that. I don't eat table salts, of course, except of occasionally maybe if I go to eat out. I make sure that I say that I'm allergic to vegetable oils, so no vegetable oils on my steak because in UK they put vegetable oils everywhere, but they take
Mhm.
allergies very seriously. So if you say that you're allergic to something, you will be sure that nothing will touch your food. Yeah. So salt is very important, and occasionally, especially when I'm working out or summers, if I'm going in the hot countries, I like to take electrolytes. So that makes me more hydrated, but no any flavors, no nothing, just pure, electrolytes, and that's it. Or you can just put salt in the water as well.
Yeah, I have a video about making my own electrolyte drink. I mix up Baja Gold salt, the sea salt, and I make it into this crazy dense solution. And I put like a teaspoon or tablespoon into like my half gallon mason jar. And like that's my electrolyte drink I take with me everywhere. But thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you have any shout outs to give as we close out?
Well, I'm really very, very grateful for you to inviting me. So, of course, if somebody wants to know more about my story, they can go and they can check my Instagram. It's vegan 10 carnivore. I do have a YouTube. I haven't been posting that much, but I do have some good recipes over there because, like I said, I'm creative and I still try to make something different, like carnivore pizzas or carnivore breads time to time. Most of my time I'm eating like pure meat, like steak and beef mince. But time to time, you want something a little bit different. So yeah, if
Right.
somebody wants to follow me and see my journey or see some recipes or see some advices about, circadian rhythm, I do also cold water therapy and cold showers, and I talk not just about food in my channels, but I talk in general about what makes me feel healthy and what could improve somebody's else lifestyle and health as well.
That's incredible. And it's weird. Like I said, more and more things you say, the more and more we line up with cold water therapy and things like that. And I'm sure that we would have some sort of similar working out patterns as well. But yet I will have both. I'll put both, unless you have like a universal link, I'll put both your Instagram link and your YouTube link in the description. So please go check out Vegan Turns Carnivore, right? Vegan Turn Carnivore. Check out her Instagram and her YouTube. She's incredible. When I first went carnivore, I started following everyone. So I've been following Laura for a while. And so thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. You've influenced my life, and I hope she influenced your life. So, yep, I'll have that in the description. The other thing I want to say is we are healing on this channel. My goal is to heal men, as many people as possible, especially vets, through steak, strangles, and stoicism. And what I mean by that is through a proper human diet, through and we talk about releasing BDNF and human growth hormone through difficult workouts. You know what I mean? A lot of people use sprints, but I use Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I think it's very important that people who are combat veterans go back to simulate combat, and Jiu Jitsu is a great way to do that. And then through stoicism. And Laura was talking a little bit earlier. You were saying there's things that you can control and things that you cannot control. And that's the basis of stoicism, right? Know what you can and can't control, know what's within your reach and out of your reach. And if it's within your control, why bother? Change it. If it's out of your control, why bother? You can't change it. And so you sounded very much like a stoic when we were going through it. And so I appreciate that. But so anyway, steak strangles and stoicism is the foundation of our channel. If you or anybody you know is suffering from PTSD, chronic illness, brain fog, anything like that, please reach out to us. Please reach out to me. And I'm sure both of us would be happy to help you and answer your questions. So thank you so much. I guess I'm at an hour and 32 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and close it out here. And Laura,
I
thank
think
you.
we
Thank you.
could
Thank you.
speak another hour and a half.
Say that again.
I think we could easily speak another hour and a
Oh,
half.
yeah. I
There's
know.
so much to talk, and then normally when I finish interview or podcast or something, and then I wish I talked about this, or I wish I talked about that. It's always like this.
Well, I'm hoping I can have you as a reoccurring guest. I mean, every once in a while, if that would be okay with you.
Of course, yeah.
Yes, I promised my wife as I started to do this podcast, because I was doing hours and hours. She was like, you have to limit it to an hour and a half. And I was like, you're probably right. My guests want to limit it to an hour and a half. So I'm going to close at an hour and a half. And thank you again. You're helping so many people. You
you.
helped me. Remember, don't do drugs, don't eat vegetables. And I'll see you guys on the next one.